Hi, I'm Marty Miller here with my co-host for the Master Instructor Roundtable, Wendy Batts. On this episode, future-proofing your career, we're going to go through a ton of stuff that's going to take your career to the next level. Wendy, why don't you give them kind of a sneak peek of what we're going to talk about?
Well, we talked about technology and how some people are embracing it and others are still on the edge of not sure what they can do to really enhance the programming. We talk a little bit about thinking about your personal information. Have you done a SWOT on yourself? Have you looked at where you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years? Marty and I talked a little bit about our path and how we got there and things, just really thinking about even our future career and where we want to go.
So it sounds like a great episode. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you're always up to date on the latest from the Master Instructor Roundtable. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to this edition of Master Instructor Roundtable. I'm Marty Miller here with my co-host, Wendy Batts. And today we're diving into an important and pretty big topic, future-proofing your career as a fitness professional. The industry is changing faster than ever. We're seeing tech, AI, wearables, clients focus on longevity and movement quality, and growing need for coaches who can guide lifestyle, not just workouts. So what skills will you need by 2030? Wendy, we've been in the industry a while, so let's see where today's conversation takes us.
I love it. Well, I think it's important too to think about two questions. So when we think, all right, how is your career progressing? If we have that in our first, we have that in our head, we have to think first question, are you happy with your career to this point? And that is a loaded question because there are some things that I love about my job and my life and my clients and what I do. And I hear people say, you know what, I wish I could do some of the stuff that you do. But there's also something where you're going to have to take a step back and say, okay, what are things that I'm not really loving and that I can change? And how do I do that? But the second question that you want to ask yourself is, do you have a plan to get your career to where you want to be, either 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years from now?
Yeah, this is a conversation I have a lot with my kiddos. Now, when I say kiddos, my oldest is 26 and my twin boys are 23. Or 24. That's even hard to say. But the key point is you can have a career, you can have something that you're enjoying doing, but are you progressing? Because before you know it, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years goes by. And that's when a lot of people finally realize, I'm not moving the way I want to move. And there's no perfect way to guarantee that, but there are some strategies that will strongly, guide you and help you to make sure that you're kind of checking in, like every so often saying, hey, it's been a year, it's been 3 years. Where am I at? Where am I going? What am I trying to do? And Wendy, you and I have had many different topics and conversations around this. So like you like to say, people can check out the Master Instructor Vault and continuing education. We've talked about things like that, reading, being around smart people. But don't just lose sight and jump in the career without kind of keeping a perspective on where you are and where you want to be.
Well, and I think too, just before we move on, here's a personal story, but as many of you guys know, Dr. Clark was my mentor right out of college. And those of you that have gone to college and are still very young, and I come up to you and say, okay, I want you to do your personal SWOT, which again, stands for your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And then I want you to write down where you want to be in a year, 3 years, and 5 years from now. And it needs to be very specific. Do you know how hard that was for me? And it's because, we're still learning, we're still growing. And there are so many questions that you don't even know that you have until you're kind of dive into it. But I'm telling you, if you can take some time and really put these things in order, because I wasn't dreaming big enough when he saw I had to do 10 years as well, but 5 and 10 years, he's like, this is not okay. This is what you should have in year 3, not in year 10 and not in year 5. But I felt like it was so out of reach that it really was me writing it down and having someone who I respected tell me, okay, let me work on your personal career path with you. And it was a very hardest thing assignment wise I've ever done.
Yeah, we did this in college when I was getting my degree in sports medicine, and our professor or head athletic trainer, director of the program, said, go stand in the room where you think you're going to be 5 years from now geographically. And I went right to Florida, and I was the only one in Florida. And he's like, why are you there? I'm like, baseball spring training. And guess where I've lived the last 30 years now, almost, right? Southeast Florida. There's a lot of luck, but I purposely went and volunteered at the minor league baseball team for 4 years, right when I was home from college. So I saw the vision, but then I worked backwards and said, what can I do to get these building blocks? Now, down the line, my career ended up changing, but it was that first, I don't know if you ever heard of a BHAG goal, big, hairy, audacious goal, that got me thinking pro baseball, pro baseball, pro baseball. And lo and behold, I pulled it off at 22, 23 years old, and it set the stage for everything else. So don't be afraid to kind of go for it, but don't think it's just going to happen. You got to make it happen with a plan.
Yeah. And you never know who you're going to stumble across, because same thing. I wrote down things where I'm like, well, this would be cool. This would be cool. And I mean, still to this day, I'm working with a lot of people where if I wouldn't have put myself in that position, they would have known that was my interest. And so, dream big, because sometimes when you write it out, then you have it in front of you and you're looking at it daily, you can then go into, okay, what steps do I need to take in order to achieve that?
Yeah. And for those that are watching right now, the slide has a crystal ball, not much else on the slide, and basically it's what are the biggest trends in our industry and the future fitness and personal training. So what Wendy and I are going to talk about here is what's the biggest trend or trends you see shaping how we'll work as trainers over the next decade. And Wendy, in preparation, I think we threw out 10 different things that could be out there easily. And I'll throw 2 out that they're here, but they're just putting their toe in the water. Is AI and data-driven training and the focus on longevity and movement health. And they're kind of linked together at the hip, if you want to say that, because the days of not using data to train, good luck. Everybody's wearing wearables. There's more apps. There's more technology within the product. And now it's not just, hey, I want to have a 6-pack for the summer. More people are looking at, hey, how do I age incredibly well? And what's my longevity look like? And then part of that obviously is how well do I move? Because that opens up the door for everything. So there's so many other things that we could list, but those are 2 that are just slam dunk obvious.
Well, and if you guys, at the beginning, it's usually the very, very beginning of January, because I have to put it into a class that we do. But Marty and I and Ken Miller and I have done the trends that come out, and ACSM actually does a big survey. They survey hundreds of different trainers and athletic trainers and chiropractors and doctors, and they ask these specific questions, and then they do a survey and say, okay, here are the 2025 trends this year. And you're going to see some of them fluctuate, group training and personal training and body weight training. But the last couple of years, number one. And I mean, it makes sense. I mean, look at how many things are on the market, so much so where I'm like, I don't know, I've got this device, and I've got everything telling me what I'm doing wrong. You just need to know what to do with it to fix it. So, there's that.
No question.
All right, so I'll take this one, but do personal trainers fear or embrace tech? So as a professor that is teaching current topics, I will tell you a lot of people are saying, yes, tech is here, and oh, yes, I wear it and I use it. But it's very interesting because they're still so skittish around it. And you should be, because again, some of the tech that's out there, I mean, they don't have it 100% dialed, but it gives us good information that is a constant if you're wearing the technology, if you're looking at it over an extended period of time and not just on a one day here, one day there, nothing that's on a consistent basis, because some of it is information that we're learning more about. HRV, what does that mean? Are the numbers good if they're high or low, or what are we looking for? And how accurate is a watch in comparison to a ring or whatever it is that you're wearing? So I think this could be both. Like if I just answer that question from what I'm seeing, and I know personally, I'm trying to embrace AI, but then I also feel like sometimes it's taking away me thinking, But guys, as you can see on the slide, tech is the future. I mean, we're already using it. It's already there. So we do need to take that information and hold on and embrace it and figure out how is that going to best fit with what we're doing just to make you even better. And then how comfortable do you feel interpreting and interpreting the data that's being given to you? So whether it's force plates that you're seeing in the gym or a wearable, and then how do you use that to accurately program someone's workout? And I think that's a big thing too, because unfortunately, what I'll see people do is go to Chat GPT. I'll give them an assignment with all of these things that you were getting off the assessment. They're plugging it in and just having AI feed it back. And then I look at it and it doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't necessarily follow 100% of a methodology that I'm asking them to use, which again is NASM. So it's not always accurate because it's the data that's being entered and put in, and some of it's incorrect and some of it is pretty spot on. But just know that, we want you guys to take it and then look at it and then make the changes that are going to be appropriate to your clients and what you're seeing, because that personal touch and that involvement and conversation can never be replaced. And that's one of the reasons I don't think we will be. But I think you just need to learn basic literacy and understanding software, and then seeing some of the trends that are coming out on this software, and then what we can do to apply it accurately to your clients.
Yeah, I'm going to take a approach very similar, but in full transparency, I work for a tech company, and we do movement assessments and we measure it. And what I would really recommend is when you look at tech, is it's reproducible, reliable, and it can be a time saver if you're using tech properly to take that workload off, use the technology to stream down that portion of your workload so you can focus on other things, because that's where trainers couldn't program or trainers couldn't do this and things like that. So I love tech. It's here to stay. And like I said, I'm working with a tech company every day, but we're not trying to replace a trainer. We're trying to speed up the workload, give them more accurate information, so then they can go sell more personal training, spend more time in sessions, whatever the case may be. So tech can be, without a doubt, your best friend. So don't be intimidated by it, because it's not going anywhere.
Indeed. All right. So what are the critical technical skills? Marty, I'll read it and then I would love for you to answer these questions, right?
Sure.
So corrective exercise and movement quality are becoming the baseline. We definitely know that. Marty and I have talked to you guys. It's super, super important. But how much deeper do we as trainers need to go beyond the standard certifications? And with older clients coming in, what skills do you think are most overlooked when training this population?
Yeah, like I said, tech is here. It's going to be a roadmap. It's going to be a guideline, things like that. But you're still going to need, your skill set. So for me, corrective exercise is a must. Movement quality, understanding the nuances of human movement, how to correct muscle imbalances, how to prevent, loading into muscle imbalances, and then of course your NASM CPT. So I think that technical skill of correctives and movement assessments is critical to everything we're going to do. So I think that is where I would start with it. Then from there, depending on what roadmap you want to take, if you want to do more coaching and not maybe so much one-on-one sessions, you might do the certified wellness coach or the nutrition coach. So that way you kind of can break up the time that you have to be just in the gym. But if you're like me and Wendy, who really like hands-on being in the gym, etc., you may go do a manual therapy like Wendy did. I'm coming from an athletic trainer standpoint, or you may go PES. So that's where we go back to, are you happy with your career? Are you on a place to progress? Are you learning new skills? So that way, like you said, when people want to spend time with people, even though they can Chat GPT a workout, it doesn't give them form, technique, consistency, motivation, right? It's just a Word document. We're not going to get replaced by a Word document. Use tech to build your business better, more efficient, and go get really good at spending time with people.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So on the first question, I would say the same thing. As I looked at that 1, 3, 5, and again, I did 10. And what I wanted to do was be someone different. I wanted to say, okay, in my area, how many people can apply all my NASM specializations and certifications that I have, the knowledge that I have. Well, if you have a really good trainer, okay, are they better than me? I don't know, maybe, because it depends on how we're selling ourselves and how the person, the client, what kind of rapport we have. But then I added the manual component, Marty, to your point. Not a lot of people do what I do and who were trained the way that I was trained. So I have a very specialized way of doing manual therapy because I also overlay it with the NASM methodology. So therefore, it's like, okay, this is what we're finding. I have a solution. So it was one of those things where it was either a manual therapist and that was it, or a trainer and that was it. And I wanted to be kind of the cream filling of the Oreo cookie. I wanted to be in the middle of both. And so I wanted, to oversize the ends. I wanted to do something like that. So I think that's very important. And then with the second question, Marty, I'll answer it first and then I'll have you go into it. But what do we think that the technical skills that are missing with the senior population? I say seniors, I should say active older adults, because we don't really call them seniors any longer. But I think we're not thinking about activities of daily living and speeding up life. We want our active older adults to stay that way. We want them to be active. We want them to be able to be mobile and do things with their children, their grandchildren, and go on vacations and go, scuba diving or snorkeling or playing golf or whatever it is that's going to make them happy. But they have to make sure at the end of the day that they're going to be really focused in on that. And again, tech itself can help if you're not sure what you can do. And then also, doing SAQ, we have in our vault, in our master instructor vaults, if you will, we do have a lot of really cool things that we've done with our senior population that if this is kind of where you want to go, I think it's really important to go visit that one too.
I don't really have anything else to add except age is a number. Do your assessments, train them through the model, and you'll be shocked that I'm 52. I know we can, people my age and working out like I do, we can smoke these young pups in the gym sometimes.
I think so. But Marty, before we go any further talking about soft skills and coaching, which is coming up next, this episode of the Master Instructor Roundtable is brought to you by NASM1, the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. So get the Edge app to schedule and program clients, enjoy half off all certifications and specializations, access free CUs, and more. All of this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM1. So Marty, what about those soft skills?
It's critical, man. I have seen personal trainers who don't have the best science, but have the soft skills way outperform from a revenue standpoint than trainers that I know are dialed in scientifically, but just don't have that it factor. Remember, I've always said there's the art of training and the science of training. You got to develop both. Do not think that you're going to get by in your career just as like a kind of a one-trick pony, I guess you could say. You've got to be able to sell. Shockingly, a lot of personal trainers, I'm not in the sales business. Oh, yes, you are. Right? If you're going to take transactions for your services, whether you work in a facility or work on your own, you are selling. So you have to understand that process and the psychology of selling and understand how your services are looked at in that manner. Then you've got the emotional intelligence on how to speak to people, how to motivate people positively, triggers to stay away from, all of these things. Like I spent my doctoral dissertation on how people perceive exercise, just because I wanted to really narrow in on the different personality types and how people perceive exercise. And boy, oh boy, does it give me a great advantage when I'm speaking to somebody, because I know how they think. And I mean this in a great way. I'm there to connect with them, not them to connect with me, but I understand how they process things. So it just makes it easier for me to get them in a level of where they're comfortable. So then I can show off my science. So I would spend, once you get through your CES, your PES, and your CPT, and you're doing your continuing education, I would encourage you to go back to one of our ones on our favorite books. A lot of them, none of them were science. You've got to spend some time reading there, maybe even taking courses or continuing education credits. I just got back from Idea World. There was other type of courses there. I highly recommend investing in that type of education as well.
Yes, you've got to learn to talk to people, but you have to relate. If you can't relate to someone, then you're probably not in the right field, because we have to be sympathetic. We have to be empathetic. There's a difference. And you also, we're there to be a coach. We're kind of their back end cheerleader with hopefully you're a little more strict than that. But I mean, it's really important. But this one, I really liked this slide because it's talking about looking back at your younger self. And Marty, if you could give your younger trainer self-advice to future-proof your career, what would it be?
Well, I could have invested in Nvidia at $1 or Bitcoin at $4, but other than that, no. I'm pretty lucky. I've enjoyed a good, successful career based on having the right people around me early on and helping me create this roadmap. But I think what I would say, is, just kind of enjoy it. Like, I was always maybe a little aggressive of what's next. And maybe that's what got me here. But before you know it, 25 years of your career could just go by like that. I think that the one thing that I kind of missed out on, and maybe I don't know if I would have enjoyed it or not, because it's not necessarily my style, or maybe it's because I missed it, is I didn't catch on to the Instagram thing. I didn't think that I could be using that as a platform and part of a resume in a sense. And it was because at the time it came out, really didn't care much about social media. And I was in a private country club, so it wouldn't have mattered if I had a bunch of followers in my head. But it was a free platform for education that I didn't really think about. And I see people now with 1 million followers, and it's their business, it's their career. Never did I see that coming.
I get that. I mean, I think I actually had the same kind of thought of what you said in the very beginning. And I had a client actually at my house today that was saying, if you look back on all the people that you've worked with, have you taken the time to be like, you know what, I was a part of this person's life, or I helped this person who now has all these awards, or, really embracing my clientele. And to your point, Marty, it wasn't. I was so worried about doing a good job and having healing hands and making sure that I was communicating the way that I needed to. The programs were right. The athletic trainers and coaches and everybody were on the same page. And I was making sure too that all the pieces fit, because I was really worried at any given time they could say, we don't need you anymore. And the thing is they really did need me. And so I think if I could give myself younger, like different advice, it would be just be you. Mm-hmm. And continue your education. And actually, I know that I know my stuff, but I have to also make sure that I feel confident when I'm explaining things. I mean, now I am. This is my younger self. I was always worried I was going to say something wrong or step on someone's toes, when in all reality, if you just be you and you're able to help someone get better, feel better, move better, perform better, then you're their ticket and they need you. And so you don't have to really kind of push for anything more than that. I think too, one of the best things that I did was I was one of the first females to really do what I be in the space that I was in. And I was really worried about that versus, I said, I'm going to do this and this is what I want to do. And that's what I did. But along the way too, I was really worried about any kind of backlash that I would get for that. When, as you can see, I didn't have any. And there's been a lot of females that have also now done things even bigger and better than what I did.
And Wendy, the one thing, knowing you, what I would say your younger self is you always had, in an ethical way, an issue raising your rates.
Oh, 100%.
Don't be afraid.
I was cheap because I was scared that if I raised my rates, people thought it wasn't that I wasn't worth it. I didn't think it was worth. I just didn't want people to think I was trying to take advantage of them.
Looking back, you probably left some money on the table.
I'd be retired right now if I could. But yeah, so there's a lot of things. We probably should have done a whole podcast just on that.
Right. So looking at this one, I've got an interesting answer to this. So underrated, overrated skill. So what's the most underrated skills for trainers right now, or most overhyped? You want me to go first, or you got this?
Yeah, why don't you go first?
Same thing I said about younger me is the social media. I think there's some things about it that I'm like, great, you got 300,000 followers and you're arguing, you're complaining, you're trying to punch holes through other people's methodologies. You're not backing it up with science. And then underrated, some people are out there putting out amazing content on hip mobility, thoracic mobility. I'm like, so I could see that either way. I could see the same thing falling into both skill sets. That it's some people have it where it's overhyped and some people where it's underrated. And the consumer who may not have a discerning eye like us, they get confused on who's right, who's wrong. But there's a lot, I would say it started off maybe a little more overhyped, but there are some bright people throwing out some free knowledge. Yeah, they're trying to gain followers and get you to look at other things, but you can, if you follow the right people, boy, oh boy, you can get some really good information.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. And I would say probably social media as well. I would look at it more where if you are someone that is building their business and they're wanting to put content, just don't get caught up in the numbers. Because I mean, that's one of the things too, when you're looking at some of the issues that people are having with mental health. They're worried that not enough people are looking at their content, or they don't like their content, and that maybe they should have done this, this, and this, or they're spending all of their time worried about their social media, that they're not really in the moment of what they should be doing with their business or their family. So I think to me, it's kind of a time suck too. Like you want to be able to, I think one of the skills that I would strongly suggest that I think is missing is really trying to find balance. I'm still at my age working on that. So I think most underrated skill for trainers is putting yourself and your family first and your job second, versus chasing the dollar and working all of these hours. Marty, you've seen me. I've been there, y'all. I'm talking out of experience. It's really hard. And then the most overhyped is saying that I've got 1 million followers. I mean, that's great. If you are an influencer and you're influencing people with really good content and you're growing our industry, I commend you and think that's fantastic. But I also think too, there's more than just being on the computer and tech. You have to be able to go out into your community and make a difference and work with your clients and help them make a difference, because that's what our profession is. It's more than just being online. It's putting that information out there, but then spreading it with the world in person too.
No, great. I agree with all that, Wendy, for sure. So then we have the business side of fitness. So I already talked about, do you enjoy the sales process? We have hybrid training, which is here to stay. Other things are like, what are 1 or 2 tech tools or platforms you couldn't live without? And is building a personal brand on social still optional? Why not? So I'm going to work backwards. On social media, I'm 50-50. If your business doesn't require that, getting people from the outside, then I wouldn't worry about it. But a lot of people, when you go to apply for jobs, they will check out your social media. So even if you don't have a lot of followers, I would just be careful what you post out there, or maybe you put some things out there just to show that you could do it if need be. And then hybrid training, man, there's so many good things, Wendy, but with the tech tools, I'm a big Apple Watch guy now. I have connected smart gym equipment, as you know, from my previous job. And now, of course, with my current role, I'm playing around with a lot of tech on movement assessments. So those are things that I use every single day.
Yeah, I would say, do you enjoy the sell process? No. Beep. That nobody does. But here's the thing, guys. If I'm just going to say this because Marty kind of answered the other two, and I think you did it so gracefully. But on the sales part, I think it's very important for you to think about this. If you meet someone, you have a good personality, so glad you're here. Thanks for coming in. I'm just going to look at how you move once I ask a couple questions, and then we're going to sit down and talk about all the findings. But first, and that's when you go into the subjective information. All right, perfect. Now let's see how you move. Take off your shoes. We're going to do this, this, and this. You get their assessment and you sit down and you're saying, okay, optimally, this is what we're looking for. And this is what I found. And with you saying that you have low back pain, or you're saying that this happened, it's limiting you here. So what I think we should do for you to hit your goals is let's have a few sessions. Let's try this out. Let's get you started with your plan. Okay, what did I just do? I sold her right there, right? Because I'm not pushing. You have to sign up for 12 sessions. And if you sign up for 12 sessions, I'm going to save you $50. And then you can come in and we're going to just try it out. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to, like, it's totally your approach. That's where you're talking about the whole like soft skills. You've got to be able to approach it in that kind of way. So one of those things, just wanted to throw that out there. But here's your call to action, Marty. What's one small thing trainers listening can do this week to start future-proofing their skills?
Well, congratulations to those of you that are listening to this podcast now, because that is one thing you can do. So now from there, take one of these points that we talked about and put it into action, whether it's doing a 1, 3, 5, even 10-year plan, picking that big audacious goal that we talked about. If you've already done those things, figure out what could be maybe stopping you. And then the other thing that I would challenge you is, what can you do outside of the science of fitness? Go find a book, go find a podcast that really will help those soft skills and go in and make a difference with how you approach your business and see what happens when you try something new.
I have a couple podcasts they could listen to, like start with the entire Master Instructor library, especially if you're new to NASM, because Marty and I really go through everything that NASM has to offer and have broken it down for you. And if we haven't, then you will be able in a minute to see our contact information where you can reach out to us and say, hey, I was searching and you said it's all there. I'm missing this, because that way Marty and I can ensure that we are getting the information out there that you want to hear, not just what we think you want to hear. So just want to throw that out there.
There you go. So Wendy, if you can give these great people your contact information, we already touched on our key takeaways.
Yes. So my information, if you guys want to reach out, is wendy.bats@nasm.org, or you can find me on Instagram at wendy.bats13.
My information right here, dr.martymiller72. And then for my email, it's marty.miller@nasm.org. So Wendy, that's a wrap for today's discussion on future-proofing your career. All of you listening, we always appreciate that. Just remember, the best investment you can make is in your own education and growth. Look at that one skill, one area we talked about today, and start leveling up this week. So thanks for joining us on the Master Instructor Roundtable. Of course, we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. We appreciate it.